The Swallow and the Hummingbird by Santa Montefiore. Narrated by Juanita Mcmahon. When George Bolton returns home to Devon at the end of the war, Rita assumes that her childhood sweetheart will marry her and that their future will be a reassuring continuation of their past. But the boy who joined the RAF has come back a man, and a man irrevocably changed by the horrors that he has seen. Unable to settle back into the sleepy seaside village, George resolves to spend a year on the family farm in Argentina, and, despite her disappointment, Rita promises to wait for him. Rita keeps her promise, but for George there are irresistible temptations and an agonising choice to make. And now, The Swallow and the Hummingbird.
Chapter 1. Spring 1945. Mrs. Megalith stared down at the body and sighed heavily. What an unsavoury sight first thing in the morning. It was rigid and cold, and looked like something one of her grandchildren might have made at school out of papier-mâché, except this wasn't a silly prank. She clicked her tongue at the inconvenience and struggled into her dressing-gown. Grabbing her stick, she proceeded to prod the corpse. It was little more than a decaying carcass of flesh and bones and fur, rather mangy fur at that. She looked at death and thought how unattractive the body was, even the body of a cat, once the spirit had departed. She felt little, just annoyance. She had so many cats she had lost count. They kept on appearing, though, in spite of the fact that she gave them little attention and certainly knew none of them by name. From where they came and why, she hadn't a clue, but they were drawn to her by a mysterious force. As Mrs. Megalith was a gifted clairvoyant, this was commendable indeed. She picked up the cat, wondering why it had chosen to die in her bedroom of all places, and limped down the corridor towards the staircase. It was an omen, a bad omen, of that she had no doubt. She found Max in the kitchen, making himself a cup of Ovaltine. "Dear boy, what on earth are you doing up at this hour?" It was 6 in the morning, and Max rarely emerged before 8:30. "There was a dead cat in my bedroom," he replied casually. He still spoke with a Viennese accent, and if it hadn't been for the Jewish blood that careered through his veins...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?